So again, throwing the triangle defense in there just to get a couple reps on it. It's not really what we're working on today, right? But I'm coming up, stacking them up, and make sure that you guys actually get them on their shoulders. Make sure your hips are actually forward. You're not risking losing your posture. You're catching underneath the knee, but I'm not lifting. I'm just holding it in place so I can drop my head under, right? Lift arm out, get here. Again, you guys can work this cross step. Might be a little bit easier for you to get into mount than going for the back step and getting disrupted. So again, you guys can throw the triangle up, boom, and I'm coming here. Dragging him on top of my thighs, leaning back so that he can't fully control my posture there. I'm gonna bring my left hand underneath his knee, and now I'm gonna go forward into like a deep lunge, but I'm keeping my hips forward, right? I don't wanna be here where I'm hunched back over because now he's controlling my posture. He can bring me back down, and then I'm gonna get caught. So leaning back, catching his knee, and then stepping up deep, right? I'm not really worried about him spinning into K-guard right now. So I'm gonna keep this shelved up, but I'm gonna drop my head down as I turn, whip the arm out into reverse the on belly. So he goes for the triangle right away, catching, leaning back, getting him loaded up onto my thighs. Now I'm gonna step forward, nice and deep with my hips driving in. I'm catching, I'm gonna limp arm out, still ending up in reverse knee on belly, but now instead of going backwards, I'm gonna cross. I'm gonna cross and just spin this way. Right? Might be a little bit easier, might be a little bit safer, you might end up in a better mount position to start, and then we can start dealing with how we're gonna set up attacks from this position. So let's go again. He tries to shoot up the triangle, leaning back, kind of controlling his hip. I'm gonna step forward, drop this knee so I can shrug down, limp arm out, cross step, just drop right into mount from there. Cool, cool. 1, 2, 1, 2. So now once we get into mount, I don't have any underhooks like we normally would from side control or something. So I'm gonna have to fight for some underhooks. If he's defending the mount, it means that I'm not attacking him. So in order to get some underhooks, I might have to start annoying his neck with punch chokes. I might have to start smothering him. I might have to start trying to get into here. Whatever I can do to start to get him to open up his arms. If I just stay here, he's gonna start working on his different mount escapes. Now, if he is staying super locked in like this, I can still try to fight for different attacks, and more specifically, we're gonna try to get an underhook. So I'm not gonna worry about trying to get here and push his arm down for an Americana. I wanna try and see if I can get an underhook instead. Usually, what I'm able to do is I'll start just putting pressure down and I'll get heavy in this mount, and it's enough to where there's just enough of his elbow exposed that I can get my wrist under. And if I can get my wrist under, then I can start to get my whole arm under, right? But if he's keeping his wrist or his elbow inside, I'm not gonna necessarily be able to do that. So I might have to come back out and then work from here. So if I'm gonna try to find an underhook from this position, it's usually best that I go palm up underneath his wrist, and then I'm able to flare this open, right? So you can keep all this in super tight. I'm not gonna be able to do this. This is kind of stupid anyway, right? I'm not gonna be able to just find this unless he's really loose. Then of course, I can do this. But if he's in really tight, me trying to dig in this way over the top is not smart at all, right? So we're gonna try to go under his wrist. I can usually get that grip, and now I can flare my elbow, which flares his elbow, right? And then it's easy for me to swivel under and get an underhook. So now I have at least one underhook. If we have one underhook, we're usually looking for arm triangles, right? So I punch that up across, start dropping my head down, start packing him in to this elbow pit really tightly, right? Get my grip behind his back, and then I try to drop his shoulder flat to the mat. Really try to just pull him in and drop my chest down. I really try to avoid dismounting in the arm triangle. I think about getting here, get everything nice and tight. I can squeeze my elbows together as I almost circle behind his shoulder for the squeeze, but I'm really trying to flatten my back out, drop my chest down, and there's even like a little bit of like a scoop, like I'm trying to go into like a cobra pose or something. I'm getting in here and I'm just pulling him up as I drop down. Right? It's really, really unpleasant, and I'm trying not to give up my mount position at all. So we'll start, once you guys get in the mount, trying to find that first underhook, right? And then we'll be successful with our arm triangle to start. So again, I'm usually gonna try and dig underneath this wrist. It's usually not that hard to get in there. The higher you go towards the hand, the easier it'll be, right? Here's gonna be kind of tight. Go in, boom, right? You can go in, palm up, catch it, and then my elbow flares his elbow, and now it's easy for me to swivel and end up with my underhook, right? If I'm able to punch this up, I'll hold on to the shoulder, start dragging all this down, pack him into this elbow pit super tight, get my hands together as tight as possible. Notice that they're not open, right? My elbows are tight to his body, and now I'm gonna drop, spin, and it's all my chest into his ribs. On to 1, 2. Start the triangle, right? Right away, shelf them up, step in nice and deep, hips forward, shrug down, get out. If you guys go into this cross step, I'm not giving up pressure to cross step. I'm staying nice and low, right? Even here, I'm not going up. I'm just dropping, right? To get into mount. If you're gonna do that one, you don't have to. But dig under, right? Flare this up so we can get this underhook, and then we try to punch for the arm triangle, right? If his arm ends up like wedged to the inside, sometimes people think that they're safe here, right? You can probably squeeze through this, but more importantly, you're gonna take this hand, go under, grab his wrist, and then pull it out, and there's your shoulder lock, right? So if, when you go for this head and arm trap, it ends up like this, it's totally fine. Hold on to the shoulder, this hand comes to the inside, I'm going under, grabbing his wrist, and I'm gonna pull it out until he taps. If I punch the arm up and he tries to go to answering the phone, right? We don't do this because it doesn't really work. We get here, same thing. Find his wrist, bring my head under, and pull, right? Grab the wrist, pull my head underneath his elbow, and get it. This is also an easy one just to peel off, right? And then just tighten back up too. So that one doesn't really do a whole lot of good. So if you're able to isolate the head and the arm, you're probably gonna submit the guy. Triangle defense set up, getting here, propping him up. Boom. Again, maybe you do one of that stuff, it's fine, right? We get here. I start putting some pressure on, getting some control. I find this underhook, open this up, and I want to go for this arm triangle. He gets that arm across and gets his back over. So again, I'm going to switch my grip. I'm going to bring this high up this way, and I'm going to get here. Sometimes when you go for this grip switch, right? Sorry. This arm kind of ends up here, and I can kind of use my shoulder. I can drive my weight forward, and if this comes forward like this, I know that I can go right to my Americana. So I grab the wrist, make sure my elbow clears his head, and then I have this Americana, and it's gonna be high. I'm gonna finish this way up here, right? As opposed to being like way down here, right? Because we went for this underhook and I went for this switch to his neck, right? His arm came up high, I catch the Americana, come right back down, and I'm gonna finish it there. Again, I'm using my wrists, not my palms. Everything's in nice and tight. My elbow goes next to his neck. I can turn, I can drop my hips, all of that's fine, right? And then anything he tries to do to defend this is probably gonna, again, open up an easy double underhook. Can open up arm bars and other stuff, or he's gonna end up re-exposing the arm triangle, right? So if I get here, he goes to defend the arm triangle, right? I'm gonna switch my grips, kind of drive my weight forward, arm flies in, I come here. I can go for the Americana, right? If he tries to like go hand to hand, obviously you can see this is an easy double setup for double underhooks, right? If he tries to push on my elbow, right? This could expose the arm bar, right? But even if it doesn't, this is another way to kind of like get back in one way or the other, get underneath for these double underhooks. Usually if they do push, right? We're coming up and going for arm bars or something like that. We're not gonna worry about that. I just want you to see the connection between having the hands on the outside, going for the arm triangle, right? He gets the hand back in front of the face. I switch my grips. I have the Americana, right? And again, if he tries to go hand to hand to catch this, then this becomes a really easy setup to go double, set into our S mount, and plant there. At any time we get here, even if we're not going for the Americana, we're still fighting for the second underhook. Depending on what his defense is, we're either going underneath the elbow or curling this up, right? And now we're good. We get to a high mount. I make sure I can get his head off the ground. I'm gonna turn 90 degrees. I'm tracing this knee around his shoulders, pulling this in nice and tight like a triangle, and then we can assess how he has his arms. Right, if we're here, this is easy. Pass this out of the way, take this one, and go right to a shotgun, go right to the wrist, plant on the hip, shin across, right? If you really insist on back heeling, that's fine too. If he's going, let's say he's going like black belt defense, right? I've used this one before, going under to the shin, chopping across with our Silverado. This works great from an S mount more than a spider web. Used this one the other day. If we're just here, like all this is fine. Right? You can pry these open any way you want. You have plenty of shoulder locks on either arm. Okay, let's do like 3 more minutes. Cycle through all of those arm triangle Americana and S mount arm bars on 2 and 2. If we get to a good head and arm, right, there's a couple things that he can look to do, especially if we get off to the side, but we're going to avoid those because we don't want to go off to the side. We want to finish in mount. But even in mount, he can still try to get this arm back. If I'm really terrible at the arm triangle, or it's really early in the setup, he's just going to reach his arm over, bring it back over my face, and then obviously I don't have the arm triangle. But if we're being realistic and I have all this super tight, his way to get out of this now is gonna be to bring his left arm across my waist, in between us all the way through, like this, and kind of block my hip. Then he's gonna turn his whole body as hard as he can to the right and kind of wiggle onto his right side until his arm can clear. There it is, right? It's not super comfortable, but that's gonna be his way to try and get out, especially while I'm still mounted, right? So if we got here, we punched everything up, we got into a good arm triangle, and he gets that arm across our waist, and then he turns really hard to his right, and he gets that across, we're gonna end up back here, where now it's gonna be very difficult for me to try to get this arm back, okay? So now I have an underhook with both my hands on the outside, but my head is kind of on the inside, right? I want to be everything on the outside, head and both hands to the outside. That means I have an arm triangle. If he gets this arm back, my head is inside of his shoulders. So then what I'm going to do, if I've lost this and I can't fight to get it back, I'm gonna switch my hands from being on the outside, I'm gonna go underneath his neck, to being this way, right? Now I can start to look for a second underhook. So even if this hand is in tight, if it's nice and loose, I'm gonna punch up and get double underhooks. If it's in tight, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did on the other arm. Find the wrist, flare the elbow, and now I have double underhooks. Once I have double underhooks, I'll sometimes bring my grip to the top of his head, right? To make it easier for me to kind of plant and then get to a heavy high mount, where as long as I'm controlling his elbows, I'm good, okay? So again, if we're here, I have an underhook, but I don't have the arm triangle, I'm gonna switch my grips. So I grab his neck. Now I can bring all of my attention to this side. If there's space, I'm gonna get that underhook, right? I can go through. If his elbow's flared a little bit, I just need to do this, right? If it's in tight, I'm gonna look for that same wrist, flare this open, and now I've got both, and I'm coming here to a high mount with double wrist control. If I could put my head on the floor, there's no way Jorge's gonna get out of this mount. He tries to move around, I'm gonna bring my feet together underneath his back as soon as he bridges up, and I'm here, right? I don't move at all. He can move his hips as much as he wants, everything's on the ground, and he's gonna be kind of screwed, right? Then this becomes easy for us to start getting into S mounts. All the arms are exposed any number of ways, right? Before we get into S mount, I really want to get into, yeah, let's go with this real quick. Before we get into S mount, okay? I go for the arm triangle, let's go over that defense again. He reaches across, kind of bridges. We end up here, I'm gonna switch my grip to the inside, right? And then now, a lot of times, I'll end up finding an Americana on one side or the other, but since we already covered it, let's go double underhooks, right? Again, you're either gonna reach through, underneath the elbow, or palm up underneath the wrist, open this up, climb up, find that S mount, and find your arm. On 2 and 2.
Baby, we're